When you're in the middle of a global crisis, how do you find the signal in all that noise? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating case study about how one pharmaceutical company used data to find its way through the chaotic, high-stakes race for a COVID-19 treatment. We're going to see how they went from being totally overwhelmed to making a clear, confident, billion-dollar decision.
Okay, let's go back in time for a second. Picture early 2020. The world is on lockdown, and scientists are just scrambling. Every single day, there's this flood of new information, new studies, new trials, new theories. For the companies trying to actually develop a treatment, it was like trying to find your way through a maze, completely in the dark, with the entire world watching your every move.
And that really brings us to the core problem, doesn't it? If you're developing a drug, your time, your money, your resources, they're all finite. So how do you possibly choose which path to follow? Which potential therapy do you sink millions or maybe even billions of dollars into when the ground is literally shifting beneath your feet every single day?
Now, this wasn't just some academic exercise. Our story is about a real, mid-sized European pharma company that was right in the thick of it. They knew they had to do something, but they were just completely overwhelmed by the sheer amount of activity happening around COVID-19 therapies. They needed to make a smart, strategic move, but before they could do anything, they needed a map.
And look, they weren't just asking for a simple list of drugs. Their questions were incredibly specific and absolutely crucial. They needed to see the entire development pipeline, everything from early ideas in a lab to drugs in late-stage trials. They had to know who all the other players were, what kind of science they were using, and ultimately, they needed insights that were solid enough to bet the future of their company on. So, how do you get from that feeling of drowning in information to having a clear, strategic map in your hands? Well, the answer wasn't just to find more data. It was to use a structured process, one designed specifically to cut through the chaos and show them what the landscape really looked like.
The tool they used is called a competitive landscape analysis. And I know, that sounds like a bunch of corporate jargon, so forget that for a second. Think of it like this. It's like creating a detailed satellite map of a battlefield before you decide where to go. It's a systematic way to see everything at once, where the major players are, who the potential allies could be, and where the hidden paths to victory might lie.
And the methodology itself was this really clear four-step process. First up, assess the entire pipeline to see every single candidate out there. Second, analyze each drug to really understand the science. Third, review the competitors to see what everyone else was up to. And finally, you pull all of that together for strategic planning, to deliver recommendations based on hard data. Simple, systematic, and, as it turns out, incredibly powerful.
So what was the result of all this work? Well, it was nothing short of a total transformation. This process took that overwhelming storm of data and turned it into something the company could actually use. It literally created a path from chaos to clarity.
You know what I love about this is how clearly it shows that shift. Think about it. The company went from feeling overwhelmed and just reacting to the latest headline to being focused and proactive. They moved from total uncertainty to a state of real clarity, where they could even look at potential threats and see them not as problems, but as opportunities to maybe pivot or even collaborate.
And this matrix here is a perfect example of the kind of intelligence they got. It didn't just give them a list of companies, it strategically positioned them. This meant they could instantly see the big competitors they had to watch out for. But maybe even more importantly, they could spot these niche innovators, smaller, more agile companies that might be the perfect partner for a collaboration. That's a game changer.
So, at the end of the day, what did the company walk away with? Actionable intelligence. That's the key phrase. They got detailed profiles on every single therapy in development. They got a clear analysis of all the different scientific approaches being tried, and they got proactive insights that allowed them to make confident, strategic decisions about their own portfolio. They had their map. Now, I know this might all sound like a corporate success story, but the implications here are so much bigger than that. Why does this kind of thing actually matter to you and me? Because in the world of medicine, good strategy can quite literally save lives.
This quote just nails it, right? A breakthrough in a lab is only the very first step. Getting that breakthrough from the lab into the hands of patients who need it, that takes incredible strategy. It's knowing where to invest, who to partner with, and how to navigate an unbelievably complex landscape. Science discovers the cure, but it's strategy that delivers it.
And that's the bottom line. It's really that simple.
When pharma companies can use data to cut through all the noise and focus their precious time and money on the most promising therapies, it prevents waste, it speeds up development, and the end result for all of us is that we get better, more effective treatments, and we get them faster.
So, it kind of leaves us with this final thought. We often imagine scientific breakthroughs as these eureka moments in a lab. But what this story really shows us is that in our incredibly complex world, the next great medical advance might be unlocked not just by a scientist looking through a microscope, but by the strategic clarity found inside a well-analyzed spreadsheet. Makes you think, doesn't it?